Everyone knows the United States is made up of 50 states with their unchanging borders. There are hardly any examples of successful state secession. The most well-known example of this was the secession of West Virginia from the state of Virginia during the Civil War. However, I personally find some of these unsuccessful attempts at state secession more interesting than some of the success stories. In this episode, we'll take a look at some of Long Island's history of secession movements. Now, what is Long Island? Despite common belief, Long Island is not a peninsula sticking off of New York City. Long Island is an island on the southern tip of New York, and is made up of 2 boroughs, Queens and Brooklyn, and 2 counties, Nassau and Suffolk. The island as a whole has a population of over 8 million people. Even without including the New York City portion, Long Island still has about 2.9 million people. This would make a theoretical Long Island state bigger than the population of 15 other states without New York City, and the 13th biggest state with the New York City portion. This state would have a population larger than Washington, but smaller than Virginia. So why isn't Long Island its own independent state? Well, let's start with the history. First, there were the Native Americans. Then came the Dutch and English. Then the English kicked out the Dutch, and the settlers from New England established colonies. And then finally, the island was officially granted to the new province of New York. And that's about all you need to know. Since the 18th century, Long Island has securely been New York. But is it truly? Is there a growing secessionist movement on Long Island ready to fight for its independence? Well, let's see. Okay, first off, I just want to say this is the worst Wikipedia page of all time. A lot of the information is unsourced or is supported with dead links, and part of it seems to be some guy's ego project, but more on that later. We will first start with proposals made by those in power. This will be easy, since there appears to only have been 2 influential politicians who supported this effort, them being Joseph Icee and Ed Mangano. Both of them actually share the same grievance: tax dollars going from Long Island to New York City and upstate New York. Which is funny, because New York City and upstate New York claim their tax dollars are going to the other parts of New York too. It's probably a cultural thing. While Joe and Ed... It's not even raining. While they both share the same reason for secession, I want to speculate that they both have some hidden ulterior motives for their support. Let's start with Joseph Icee, the former Suffolk County Comptroller. In 2008, Joe announced that he was in favor of Long Island seceding from the state of New York for the reasons stated before. But from how he talks about the idea, I don't think that's his main reason. In the article, Joe gushes over the idea of an independent Long Island, boasting how it would have the highest median household income in the country, and how he would name the new state the Commonwealth of Long Island to keep things, and I quote, retro. All of this makes me come to the belief that Joe, whether intentionally or not, was just trying to do this for some kind of glory. Hey, it must stink being stuck in such an inconsequential position as county comptroller. Let that man dream, even if his dream may be akin to some 11-year-old making a video where some random separatist region conquers the world. While Joe may be doing the state politics equivalent of LARPing, Ed... Oh god, can you stop? Appears to have more sinister reasons for his support. Ed Mangano was the county executive of Nassau County from 2010 to 2017. In 2010, he allegedly proposed for both Nassau and Suffolk County to merge as one county in order to more easily campaign for secession. I say allegedly because I was not able to find any source backing that up besides a paragraph on Wikipedia with no citation. Isn't it great how things work like that? Anyways, I wouldn't put it past Ed to call for something like this, and maybe that's because I don't like him very much. Maybe we should ask him for his opinions on this. Let's see how he's doing right now.
Former Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano, found guilty of taking bribes, is now on his way to prison.
Mangano found guilty of bribery and corruption in a kickback scheme, who gave the former First Lady of Nassau, Linda Mangano, a $100,000 a year no-show job.
It's just a very sad, painful day.
Well, let's just say he's not in a good place right now. Coming back to Long Island statehood, perhaps Ed wanted to draw attention away from his misconduct through promising lofty nationalistic ambitions like a Latin American dictator. Probably not, but who knows. But in all honesty, politicians that promise lofty goals that are nearly impossible just to appease their base probably shouldn't be trusted anyways. But that's every politician. Perhaps, to achieve Long Island's independence, we need a complete outsider.
I call myself the governor more or less because I started this whole thing altogether.
Here enters Seceding Talini. As the New York Times once described him, he is a then 45-year-old bachelor living in his parents' house here with plenty of online dreams and no steady offline employment. His qualifications cannot be understated. He claims to be a Native American leader, the governor of the United Micronations multi-oceanic archipelago, and even a bishop in his own church, the Secession Church. With a resume like that, no wonder he's the head of his own movement. But what makes Talini so interesting is that he doesn't just want to make Long Island a state, but he also wants to make Long Island an entirely independent country. Surprisingly, making this region of the United States independent from the rest of the United States isn't even unheard of. Back in the 1860s, New York City Mayor Fernando Wood attempted to make Manhattan, Staten Island, and Long Island secede from the United States during the Civil War. I talk more about this overlooked part of Civil War history in this video if you'd like to check it out. But anyways, Talini, despite his qualifications, probably won't lead Long Island to independence. In fact, it seems as if his interest in an independent Long Island has faded as new interests arose. Today, it seems like Talini is spending his 60s writing geopolitical roleplay. Or, at least, I think, I hope it's just roleplay. Snapping back to reality, there are still a couple calls for Long Island secession today, but these go nowhere. Even as recently as February this year, Assemblyman Keith Brown argued that leaving New York State would save money for Long Islanders. Whether this is true or not is dubious, but that's not really why politicians call for a Long Island state. Almost all people calling for an independent Long Island state are very polarized and dejected Republicans. It reminds me a lot of the Greater Idaho movement in Eastern Oregon. In Oregon, there's a strong political rift between the western urban areas and the eastern rural regions. This has led to many in Eastern Oregon seeking to join Idaho, a state which seemingly aligns more with the region's politics. Whether or not it is a good idea to change state borders based on something that can be changed as easily as political preferences, spoiler alert, it's not a good idea. It doesn't really work on Long Island's case anyways. Long Island isn't as Republican as rural Oregon. It's, well, for the most part, comfortably swingy. That's probably why the discussion is always about Long Island's alleged physical problem rather than a political one. For that reason, the chances of a Long Island state independence based purely on political differences from New York State is, well, never gonna happen in the near future. In today's polarized landscape, from Joseph Swaiki to Ed Mangano, to Seceding Talini, to random politicians today, the idea of a 51st state Long Island is likely never going to die. While on paper it's a funny idea, and while it could technically work on paper too, an independent Long Island state likely will never happen in any of our lifetimes, if at all. And maybe that's for the best, but for those who still can't let go of their dream, well, perhaps you should start your own Long Island State Independence Party. If you have enjoyed the video, consider liking, subscribing. And with that said, goodbye.